Hey y'all, my name is Gabrielle and welcome back to Gabrielle's Guide to Books. I am so happy to see you all and chat again about Black books. So this video is really about me committing one of the cardinal sins of the book world and like book reading. I am judging books by their covers.
Even on the bad days, I thank God for making me brave. Brave, 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 brave.
So sometimes when I'm not sure what to read or I have too many books to read, or it's sometimes like I get overwhelmed by all the books I have yet to read or all the books that like I have gotten in a recent haul or the books that I've gotten from the library, because I will just put books on hold at my public library and then they just come whenever they're available. And then I have like analysis paralysis. I'm like, all of these books sound good because I clearly picked them. So then I will judge books by their cover. Another way that I judge books by their covers is that I will often go through like this next year's most anticipated reads or the next month's most anticipated reads. And it's not necessarily organized by like authors of color or Black authors. So I'm sort of judging initially by, of course, the authors that I do know. And then I'm like judging by the covers that seem the most interesting to me. And then I will sort of click on those covers first. And then I'll go back and like do more of a granular read of them. So I will say that often I am very attracted to book covers. And sometimes that has really worked out for me. And other times it has not worked out so well. So I am going to share 2 times that it worked out very well and 2 times that it left a little bit to be desired. If you like Black bookish content, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. So the first book in my lineup is A Love Song for Ricki Wilde by Zakiya Williams. Y'all, get into this book cover. Like, it's a gorgeous woman on the cover and a gorgeous man. Y'all, when I saw it, first of all, I just love the bold font on here and then just the beautiful image. It just had me thinking, okay, they are like lying down in a field, looking up at the stars, just being so in love when I first saw this. And I was like, ooh, what is this book about? And I will say this book did not disappoint. I was super excited about this. I know that this is a book that everyone has looked. I have put so many people on to this book. And I think you have had to be living under a rock maybe to not have heard about A Love Song for Ricki Wilde. Something I really love about this book is that Ricki Wilde is a woman who does not initially have her life all together, all figured out. She moves from Atlanta to New York and she becomes a florist. And first of all, just the fact that she becomes a florist and we get to learn about like a little bit about like the floral world, about flowers in this book, I thought was just amazing. And I love also that there's elements of music here because Ricki Wilde's love interest, Ezra, is a musician in this book. I love that this book has a modern day element. It has a Harlem Renaissance element in it. And I just really love so much of it. If you haven't read the book, I don't want to give too much away from it. But when I tell you, this was really like a love story. It was a timeless love story. It was a romantic love story. It just had so many different elements. It was like completely unexpected for me. It was not one that was like very linear, one that I was expecting. And the book actually gave me all the feels that this cover was initially giving me. Loved this book. And I will say that I was a little bit skeptical because, girls, don't come for me, but I was not the biggest fan of 7 Days in June. I just was not. So I was very skeptical for that reason. And I was just so happy that this book just like far exceeded my expectations. I like got this for birthday gifts. I recommended this to other people. This book is one that honestly is one of those type of love stories, because I'm kind of like, with some books, and especially in like the romance category, I'm like, oh, that was a cute story. But this is a book that I would actually like read again, because I just feel like the way that I was swept up in this romance between Ricki Wilde and Ezra was just, yeah, I was just like really swept up in it. This was a book that I just like did not want to end. And I also love that this book was layered. There were stories within stories. There was some drama without all the trauma that I felt was in like 7 Days in June. So I really, really loved this book, and I was not disappointed by choosing this book and selecting it by its cover. I've had custom shelves made in my home, and this is definitely one of those books that I will definitely have facing out because it is just a beauty. The next book is Wahala by Nikki May. This cover is gorgeous. The flowers in this book, I love the colors. I remember seeing this book and just saying, oh, wow. This cover is beautiful. And I will say that I probably put this book ahead of others because of how beautiful the cover is, but I probably would have read this book no matter what the cover looked like. Like, to be honest, this book came out when I was like obsessed in, like, I could not get enough of Nigerian writers at this moment. Like, I was just in a Nigerian writer and a really an African writer, like, that was all I was reading for. Well, it wasn't all I was reading, but I was really reading a lot of Nigerian writers during this period. So it was definitely one that I would have read regardless of how the cover had looked. But like, because it was such a beautiful cover, I definitely put it further along. Outside of being like in my like African Nigerian writer era, I was very attracted to this book because it followed Friends. And so the premise of this book is really interesting. And it follows 3 friends that have been friends for a while and then enters a new friend in their friend group. This book is kind of the epitome of, I don't know, was it Drake, or I don't know who the rapper is that like came up with the saying like no new friends. This book is the epitome of that. And what happens when enters like a 4th person into that friendship, and like, will this 4th woman, will she like mesh into the friendship well, or will like something happen? And of course, any good book, there's going to be drama. And of course, this book had a lot of drama that came about once this 4th friend entered the friendship. I am really sad to say that is really where my excitement with the book sort of ends. So I should preface my review of the book by saying that I am not a person that does not finish a book. I know that, you know, there is like, people are like, whatever, I'm not going to finish it. I am going to finish a book because there have been books that I have read, I've started reading, it was really flat, and somehow the book did get better for me at a point where I would have been like, you know what, I'm going to just stop reading here if I was a person that did not finish the book. So just overall, I'm just not a person that does not finish a book. But if I was a person that did not finish a book, this would probably be the type of book that I would not finish. What I will say is some of the reasons why the book was a difficult read for me is that I felt like the book had a lot of issues with colorism, and I found myself as a reader rolling my eyes so much at every time one of the women referred to herself as like mixed race, or called herself mixed race, or texturism or colorism, or that sort of thing was like central to like who they saw themselves as or their identities. And it wasn't like nuanced and complicated. For me, I thought that the premise of the book and some of the things that the characters were going through, like dating and marriage and motherhood, there were so many elements that could have been really strong and could have really been further discussed by the characters, really was not done in a way that was really deep. I didn't really feel like I got to know the characters. They were, to me, very surface level characters, and what I saw on the surface, I really could not connect to. And honestly, the book came off a bit anti-Black to me. I felt like the way that the men, particularly the Nigerian men, were described in the book, I felt was a bit over the top, and really like, if Nigerian men are not your preference, it is fine. Nigerian men are not your preference. It just felt like it was a big dig to Nigerian men in this book, and it just felt like, okay, let's just move on from that. The other element was that the storyline was a bit predictable to me. And I actually don't have a problem with predictable storylines, because like sometimes I like that, because everything that's happening in the world, like I like to know how something is going to end, because there's so many things that are just up in the air. You don't know how things are going. I do like a little bit of predictability, but I think with some of the other elements that seemed a bit more challenging and problematic, that predictability did not add anything to me as a reader. I am never going to tell someone not to read a book. I will simply say I might not have been the intended audience for this book. I'm sure that there are probably some readers out there where this may be in their top 10 favorite books. It just did not make it into mine, and I'm okay with that. But I will say that this is a cover that I still continue to love. When I was going through my books to get them ready for a move, I remembered the cover of this book and was like, oh man, this cover is so beautiful. And then when I read through the description, I was like, oh, yeah. So again, I get very excited about the cover of this book. But again, I don't think that I, unfortunately, am the intended reader. If you have checked this book out and it was one of your favorites, please do leave me a comment and let me know what elements about the book you really appreciated. The next book on my list is Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams. This cover, oh, y'all, this cover. Look at it. I love wearing braids. Braids to me just scream, I'm about to go on vacation. It's summertime. And then also too, it just says like, I am a Black girl. Something about these braids. When I saw this cover, I was like, oh, this book is gorgeous. I really loved this cover of this book, and I was so excited about it because I had actually read a short story by this author that I really enjoyed. So I was really excited about this book. I remember actually going to get this book on publication day. I was also really interested in it because at the time I was really trying to read more stories about the Black experience throughout the diaspora. This is a story about Queenie, who is a young, I think she's in her 20s, maybe her mid 20s, and she is a Jamaican British woman. Going into this book, I knew it was going to be a coming of age story. I knew that Queenie was going to be trying to find herself. There was going to be a lot of self-exploration. And just like most people in their 20s, self-exploration deals with love, relationships, career, family. I knew that there was going to be some messiness in this book for sure. There were parts of this book that I just found to be like extremely funny. And I don't know if it's just like British humor, just like really, I get it or something, but it was just like super funny to me. I will say that I thought that the writing in this book was very good. I was really drawn to the way that the author wrote the book. I was disappointed by the fact that the book was named Queenie. Such a dope name, such a dope cover. And yet I thought that the book centered so much the men in Queenie's life. And I know that it's about relationships, but I felt like it had her in some ways having like a weird obsession in some ways with one of her boyfriends, Tom, and then these men who were often like violent. And it was really sometimes really hard to read through that. And I just felt like the book really centered a lot of times maleness and whiteness. And that was just really hard to read through, to be honest. And mostly, I really struggled with the character development of Queenie. By the time that the book ended, I was like, did I really know who Queenie really was? Like, who was she? I don't really know, like, in the end, like, what she was really interested in. I felt like I wanted more depth about Queenie. I think it was so much about the mistakes and missteps that Queenie was making and not enough about what Queenie ultimately really wanted to do with her life. It was just an accounting of all of the things that she was all of the issues that she was navigating rather than where she really wanted to go. And I'm okay with there being issues, but for Queenie to be the title character of the book, I want to know a little bit more about what is she thinking? How is she thinking? I want to get a little bit more in her head. And I didn't feel like, for me as a reader, I was able to do that. And one of the other things that I will say, the reason why I said that I'm kind of mixed on this book is I don't know if the point that the author was trying to make is that this book was just a complete mess and Queenie was just a complete mess. Like, I don't know if that was like the point that she was trying to ultimately make. This book was initially published in 2019, and I've really wrestled with the character Queenie and this book so much since then. I've talked to so many people about it, and I know that there is a TV show about the book that is out on Hulu now that I think might redeem Queenie a bit and might center her a bit more. But I really wanted something, I think, a little bit different than what the author clearly was offering with this book. I do think that this is a book that is clearly, the cover is dope. And because I have like mixed feelings about it, it's definitely one of those books that I would definitely encourage you to read. If you have read it, I would love to know what you think about this book, and please let me know in the comments. The next book is The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Dalila Harris. Y'all, this cover is so dope, okay? See it. I mean, first of all, an afro pick as an earring and the hair, the afro, And just the text here, and then even just the back of it. It's just such a dope cover. Yeah, this is a dope cover. And this is a little bit different, I think, than all of the other books. This is a workplace drama that centers our main character, Nella, who is sort of, I think, a little bit shy, a little bit reserved, but then she gets another Black woman coworker named Hazel, who has all the confidence in the world. And they kind of are trying to explore whether or not they're going to have like this office friendship. They're doing like typical Black girl things. They're exchanging like, little memes and like natural hair jokes and recipes and that sort of thing. And then everybody in the office begins to love Hazel. And that puts like Nella in sort of a weird position. But then she starts to get these mysterious notes at her desk that is telling her to leave the company. So she has to sort of figure out, where are these notes coming from? Can I trust Hazel? What is going on? And so you really get this really cool kind of office drama, suspenseful type of book. It's really an interesting story. And I was actually so surprised that I loved it. I think I've mentioned in a previous video that my profession has a real diversity problem. And for a long time, I had been the only Black woman in my office space. And I know what it's like to get a new Black woman in the office and being so excited about it. Luckily, I did not have a lot of the like issues with Hazel and Nella here. But I know what it's like to be having that excitement about like, oh, finally, like another coworker that looks like, and then unfortunately, sometimes they leave and then you have to like go through that excitement all over again. I remember reading this and like putting myself in Nella's position of like, oh my gosh, if this had happened at my workplace, and I connected to it because of my own sort of like personal connection to the story. Anything that's kind of like suspenseful, or I have to be like, ooh, what's going to happen next? And it was like doing time jumps. It was introducing like a new character that was like, who is this person? I usually reads like that. I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, oh, I don't know if this book is for me, but I really love this one. To me, this book really did live up to its cover. I don't think the cover has anything to do with really the like premise of the book at all, but it worked. It definitely got my attention. I think that this is another one where I would love to display this cover because it's one that is super dope and it gets people talking. One other thing to mention about this book is I also think that it has been made into some TV series of some sort. I can't remember what channel it is on, and I haven't actually heard much about the reception of the TV series. And I haven't actually heard much about how people feel about this book. If you've read it, I would love to know what you think about this book or any of the books that I have talked about here. There you have it, you all. Those are just a few books that I have judged by their covers. Honestly, I judge books by their covers all the time. If this is something that you all like, please do let me know. I have so many more books that I have judged by the covers, and sometimes it's really worked out for me and sometimes it has not. So if this is more content that you all would like to see, please don't forget to just leave me a comment down below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you're not already, please follow me at The Gabrielle Guide on Instagram and TikTok. All right, girl, I think that's all the housekeeping I need to do. Until next time, take care of yourself and stay glowing. Bye, y'all.
I can't help but think that there is something more to find, more to life than what I have right here, right now. Used to call it stable.